Yeah, great. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
I think
I can at least, and everyone else should be
okay.
able to. Yeah.
So I'm on the main screen, which is NMIMS calling gear up for round 2.
Yes.
And yeah, just let me know if the transition of slide is working. Okay? Is this
Yes.
fine?
This is introduction.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect.
So let's start. Good morning, all of you. As Divya mentioned, so we have been doing quite a few webinars. We did SIBM on Friday and IFT yesterday. So today we are going to discuss NMIMS, and we'll be discussing as to how the process has been over the years and what to expect this time. NMIMS has been very unique in terms of the academic weightage. The weightage for your return score is very high in the overall process. I'm just going to discuss that bit as well. And then the kind of questions that are asked in the interview. And I have put down about 4 to 5 slides on various cases that have appeared in the past, which are going to be indicative again because it can't be exhaustive. Okay. Coming to my introduction, so I did my MBA from GDPI in 2011. And after that, I worked for 3.5 years in education, technology, consulting. Then I attended a small program at SPGen on entrepreneurship, which is called Start Your Business. In the meantime, I also got myself certified in behavioral event interviewing, which is a technique of interviewing, and the strong interest inventory, which is a tool used in career assessment. I'm the co-founder of Learning Roots, and I also drive the GDPI program in addition to my responsibility of training students for quant, logical reasoning, and data interpretation. And I also have taken sessions at some of the prominent institutes in Mumbai, which of course includes GBIMS, where I go every year for the summers and final placement preparation for mock interviews. So that's about me. Now today's agenda is going to be about NMIMS. We are going to discuss the institute, the process, and if you have got calls from NMIMS, of course, congratulations first of all for getting that call. And from now on, can you put yourself on mute? All the participants, just requesting keep yourself on mute.
Right.
And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat window one by one. I'll go through my presentation for about the first 20-25 minutes, and then we'll be discussing the questions that you have. But in the meantime, when the presentation is on, please keep yourself on mute. Thank you. So let's start now. The NMIMS process has been very standard, so to say. But over the years, it has, in the last few years, the composition has changed a little. So earlier it was group discussion, it became case discussion, and so earlier they also used to give a different case, so which a GD used to be there. I think that was dropped somewhere in 2012 or 13 when they started doing the case discussion. Now, it works on similar lines as a group discussion. So you have 10 to 12 participants, and the case that is given to you, you will have 5 minutes to read the case, another 13 to 15 minutes of discussion, and then you will be asked to conclude the case. Now, a lot of you might also have the call for the HR MBA and the core MBA, which is their flagship program. Now, there is a difference in the case which is given for the core MBA program and the HR MBA. So for core, you will have typically business-based cases where you have a business scenario and the group has to discuss that. For HR, you will have questions which are the case which is related largely to either ranking, for example, rank these 10 or 15 jobs on the basis of difficulty level, or more of behavioral, that okay, if you have these 10 people or these 15 people, then who will you choose and for what reason? Or if there is some calamity and there are 10 people and you can only save, let's say, 3 people, then what will you do? So those kind of cases. Coming to interview, NMIMS interviews are generally very relaxed. Having said that, they can always ask you a question about academic, and I'll come to that when I discuss the interview part, because this is one area where you have to prepare. The panel generally has 2 to 3 members, including an alumnus or an alumna. And interviews typically last for about 10 to 15 minutes. In the past, people have also reported as short as 7 to 8 minute interviews. But a lot of time it's very difficult to gauge as to how much time you actually spent in the interview room, and hence that 7 to 8 minute thing might be a little exaggerated as well. Coming to case discussion, so I'm not sure if you guys have seen some of the cases that have appeared previously in NMIMS processes. So what I've done is I've listed down, I think, about 10 to 11 cases that have appeared in the past. Again, as I said in the beginning of the session, this is an indicative list and not an exhaustive list. So you have to think for these cases, a good idea to do that so that when you go for the actual process, you're not surprised in any manner whatsoever. So let's take the first one, for example. You're the education minister of your state, and generally the length of the case has been 1 pages to 2 pages, but some of the cases have been short as well. So if you have supporting data which you need to incorporate in the case discussion, you will have longer case. But then there are cases which are pretty short with about 4 to 5 different characters that are out there in the case, and then you have to discuss that. So this particular case which was given, you're supposed to talk as if you're the education minister of your state, and the data of engineering colleges in your state was given. So different states were given, and in bracket, the number of engineering colleges in each of the states was given. And you have two choices basically, either shut down all the low quality colleges in the state or create more employment opportunities so that students of all the colleges get placed. And you as a group have to discuss this case and then come at a conclusion. Another case which had appeared was, so this is more of your HR case. A manager fired an employee due to incompetence and repeated leak of confidential information. And after a few months, the employee has come back to the manager and asking for a recommendation letter. So what should the manager do in this case? Now, again, you won't have a lot of data to discuss in this case. So then you have to get in a lot of behavioral traits and what can be done in these kind of situations and so on. Again, there is always a possibility that if you don't have a data-based case, the discussion will start getting, the points will start getting repeated after a point of time. And that is a fair thing to happen. I mean, it will happen. So, but make sure that you are somebody, in case you are, you be one of the top 4 or 5 performers in the GDPI or the case discussion. In the overall scheme of things, case discussion accounts for roughly about 7.5% basis what it was previously. So generally, the NMAT written score weight is very high, it's 70 to 75%. After that, you have your ACATS, work experience, case discussion and personal interview. Everything is generally up to maximum up to 10%, not more than that. And because of which, it's a good idea to sort of do well at each and every opportunity that you get. There was another case which was given, which was a newspaper article straight away, and the article spoke about how marketing is done on the field in India, where culture changes after every 50 kilometers. So again, this is a core MBA case study and not really for HR. So if depending on where you're applied, whether you're applying for core or for HR or for both, you need to make sure that you're participating in both the case discussions and doing well. People who have applied for both, you may have process on the same day, so you have to be at the top of your game to do well every time. Coming to the next few cases that have appeared in the past. So this is a business, again, core MBA case study. A company is facing cost-cutting problems, and they fire the CEO and hire a new charismatic CEO. So the new CEO has reputation of saving companies from such situations, and still the company has gone bankrupt after 2 years. So how could the company have been saved? Now, again, this is not like a group discussion where you can bring in extremely generic points. You have to first of all stick to the data that is given to you. But of course, then you can bring in perspectives that you have seen depending on the industry in which you have worked, or if the industry is mentioned in the question, then what works in that industry. If you know that, then you can talk about it. Again, don't really start with solutions immediately. That is one of the fundamental rules of case discussions. that you don't immediately give solutions. So if this case is given to you, and if somebody starts, if you have 10 people in the group, if one person immediately starts with some solution or some particular take that, okay, this is what happened and this is how it should be, it's fine for you to intervene and say that let's first discuss the background of the case and what exactly happened, and then get into let's look at different perspectives, and then towards the end of the discussion we can sort of conclude or give some sort of solution. Now, the next one is again HR. So Miss XYZ comes late to office as she has to drop her son to school, and gates don't open very early. And other members of her team complain to you, as in you as the person who is there in the discussion, that they also have commitments and still reach on time. So when you go and talk to this person, she breaks down. So what will you do? Now, one of the things which was very particular about this case is that for this person, it was Miss XYZ and not Mrs. XYZ, which was specifically mentioned by the person who was there in this discussion. So then you have to be a little careful and then think on those lines rather than assuming that this person has a family to take care of the child and so on. So don't make any assumptions, work on the data that is given to you and then discuss it. Again, for people who are interested in HR, make sure that you talk about at least some of the terminologies that are there that you typically find in your HR curriculum. And it will be a good idea to prepare and go for it. Then there was a business case again, which was a newspaper has started an online version. So the newspaper has a good brand name in the offline space, but they've recently started an online paper as well. Now, what you have to do is, as a group, discuss and give 3 ways to increase the revenue of the online version of the newspaper. These are the case studies where your general experience or whatever knowledge that you have about how industry works will come into picture. So if you know how, say, online newspapers or online magazines make money, then it will be very useful for you to bring in that knowledge in this discussion. So another case study is, I think I have one more slide on case study because I thought that will be the best way to go about this, just to give you an idea as to what kind of cases have appeared in the past. So there is a 3-year-old software company which is there in a partnership with some other company, and it gets a buyout offer from some third party, and the CEO wants the company to go for it, go for the buyout, but then company has plans to file for an IPO this year. So the CEO had to convince the board members on the buyout offer, but the members decided that they had differences and the buyout offer was rejected. So you as a group has to discuss whether the board decision was right. Of course, there will be supporting data which will be given to you and you have to make sense of it and then talk about it. So for a lot of people who don't have knowledge about, say, what does a buyout mean or say an IPO mean, for them it might be a little difficult to participate. But then if that is the case, you wait for the first 2 minutes, let somebody else start the discussion, given a few points, and then you can build on it. Another question. So this is another case which is very hypothetical, so to say. So somebody is in his 50s and had his business, but then because of recession, he lost money and everything. And he has 2 daughters and they're studying something. So all his family members now committed suicide. Now in this case, who should be blamed and how can such events be stopped? Which is a very vague question, so to say. But then it's a good discussion point because you can always say that, okay, who should be blamed is one is global recession. Maybe there might be other reasons because the daughter might be studying medicine and might be feeling a lot of pressure to study that or something else or some other problems. The person not having money is a problem, so he should be blamed or whatever. So people can always bring in perspective that, okay, this person should be blamed. But then at the end of the day, you have to also back it up with some logic as to why this particular person should be blamed. And in such scenarios, so this is very similar to cases where they have given you a few things and they have asked you to sort of select 3 or 5 people out of this who are very crucial. For example, there is a Mars expedition and then something has happened on the Mars. So the mission is in very danger now, and you have crashed somewhere. You have to go to some other site, and then you have 15 items with you. You have to group as a group. You have to discuss that, okay, which are the 5 items out of these 15 can be taken that are absolutely required for survival. Another case, which is so XYZ works in the sales department and takes care of minute details, and his manager is unhappy with him because of which they're fighting. So he decides to leave the company, and his friend suggests him to start a new business in the same sector. So basically, they tell him that, okay, start this company, and then you compete with the company where you were initially. So what you have to do as a group is to discuss what all options does this person have, and then provide a solution that whether taking this is the only possibility. Now, what all things can be discussed in this case? One is, for example, the manager who is unhappy. You need to figure out why the manager is unhappy. Is it just because this person works more and then other employees like him, or there are some other reasons behind the popularity of this person? So one can always discuss why the manager is unhappy. The other thing is, if this person leaves the company and starts competing, does he have a realistic chance? Whether somebody who is a good manager or a good salesman can translate the skills that the person has got as an entrepreneur. So will the person be equally successful while doing that? That is something that can be discussed. So there are a lot of things that you have to discuss. You have 10 to 15 minutes for discussion, and considering 10 to 12 people, you get approximately 1.5 minutes in case you decide to participate. Which you should. So make sure that you at least give 3 to 4 entries, well-spaced entries, not like something in the beginning that you spoke for a minute and then towards the end you spoke for a minute. That doesn't really count. So you have to be involved in the entire discussion that is going on, give perspectives, build on what people have said, and then continue the discussion. If you are trying to moderate, then again you have to make sure that you control the discussion in case it is going off limit, and then bring the entire group back to the task at hand. So a question which is similar to a case which is similar to what we were discussing, that in a company a new truck is to be assigned to 11 drivers, and all of them are at different seniority level, and all these 11 people also currently have a truck of their own, but it is in different conditions. So somebody has whatever a broken truck, or somebody has whatever truck that has covered some 50,000 kilometers and so on. So then you have to decide on the basis of the state of their trucks, current trucks, as well as the seniority, that who should get the new truck. And there is, first of all, there is no, there may or may not be one definite answer to a question like this, because you can always justify that, okay, why X person deserves it more than Y. And even the objective of the case discussion is not to arrive at a definite list. As long as you have, if let's say there is a definite answer to the case, as long as you get close to the answer, the entire group will get point for it. But of course, in case your group discussion is completely off track, then it's not going to help anybody. Another case. So most of the people in a company received threat emails, and all were asked to name other people that they felt were involved from that company. And there was one name which was common from all the names that were given by people. So what action would you take as a manager? Again, so if somebody says that, okay, this person was found guilty, so let's throw him out of the organization. That's not a good way to go about it. So first of all, as a group, you have to start with the assumption that those people are thinking that this person has done it, there may or may not be, it may or may not be true. So you have to start with some security check, that there will be an IT person who can sort of track as to what was the source of the emails and so on. And then after the inquiry, then you can probably decide as to, in case the person is found guilty, what can be done, and then what can be done to prevent such instances in future. So that's it on the case discussion. Now again, so this should give you an idea as to what to expect. The cases are, though a little generic for your MBA HR, The cases are related to business, not concrete data and not very specifically business, but then borderline business related to generic decisions on what the company should have done and what the management or manager should have done. For HR, it is again behavioral as well as hypothetical situations where you will have to discuss and debate and then come to a conclusion. Now coming to interview, so and before that, actually I am someone who had converted NMIMS when I was an aspirant, but I decided to let go of it for GBIS. So I'll also talk about a bit about my interview, which didn't really go well, but then because I had a good written score, I managed to convert. So speaking about interviews, now first of all, lot of questions on about yourself. So tell me something about yourself and where you come from and those kind of questions. Again, people who are coming to NMIMS for the first time or people who are coming from outside, they will always ask questions related to your hometown, what is going on in your, what is the current situation in your city or town at this point of time, or generic questions like how did you travel from your place to here, and what do you think of Mumbai? What do you think of NMIMS? What is it that you liked about NMIMS since you have spent some 3 years here, and those kind of questions. So these are your icebreaker questions that you can expect in the beginning. After this, they will typically get into your work experience questions. So if you have work experience, then various questions, for example, instances where you've shown leadership, team building skills, and those qualitative questions, as well as if you're, so for example, there was one student who worked at one of the Tata companies. So he was asked the Tata Code of Conduct during the interview. So about your company, the vision, mission, if it is there, the current state, if your company is listed, then again the stock performance of the company or the overall financial performance of the company over the years. Industry related questions. What is the current state of the industry and what do you think? What is your take? If you have worked on a lot of projects, then of course questions related to projects can also come in this part. Then, so academic questions always appear in NMIMS interview. So I don't know why, but even if people have 0 to 3 years of experience, in the past they have been asked questions related to academics. Again, very fundamental questions like that, but they have asked questions to prepare for whatever stream in which you graduated. Then there are specialization oriented questions. So if you want to do marketing, you want to do HR, you want to do finance, then why you want to do that particular thing. Especially if you don't have any background, then you have to justify the reasoning behind your choice. Which of course leads to why MBA core, MBA HR, and why not a niche MBA? Because NMIMS has a pharmaceutical management MBA as well. So a question can always be as to if, let's say, you have a pharma background, the panel is going to ask you why you don't want to do the pharma MBA which is there and get into the core MBA program. So you have to be prepared for those answers. And the best thing to do is to either say talk to people who are currently studying in this course or who have recently completed the course, and then go through the website and see the syllabus and the content of each of the courses and then frame your answer accordingly. If you have relevant work experience, then of course it becomes a logical, or academic background, then it becomes a logical continuation of it, which is easier to justify. Having said that, even if you don't have, you can always make answers. So that should not be a problem. But don't go for the interview with the assumption that this question will not pop up. The more you prepare before the interview, the better it will be. And NMIMS has always had the SOP. So it was there when I was an aspirant, which was 8 years back, and they still have that SOP, which is there, which is typically one page, one side. Now, so that is one piece that they have when you go for the interview. So they will have your SOP when they're taking the interview, and you can expect a few questions on the things that you have written. For example, if you have written in SOP that over a period of time I want to start a company of my own, be ready for questions related to what industry, why after 10 years, why not now, what's the opportunity cost, and so Then questions on hobbies and interest again are very important from NMIMS interview. So because as I've written, passionate pursuit has an advantage because in the past I've seen a lot of people who had some kind of expertise, let's say in dance. Say you have learned 2 or 3 dance forms and then you're proficient, or if you play a sport and have say played at a regional or a state or a national level, then those things always add a lot of value to your candidature. Then, so I have already covered a lot of other interview questions that one can expect in my previous webinars on SIBM and IFT. So the awareness questions come in all the interviews. So India, what is going on and what's your take? What's the current state? Especially in the last 3 to 4 months, whatever has happened, at least be prepared for that. And then the world news again, last 3 to 4 months. And the last bit is no committees and clubs, because NMIMS has a vibrant culture. Even if you go to the institute, you'll see a lot of people, because NMIMS is located at a place which has a lot of other colleges next to it. So you have the Usha Praveen Gandhi Institute, then you have Mithibai next to it, and it's sort of if you go to Parla West, then it's an education hub, so to say, because you have so many colleges there and so many students. So because of this, there are a lot of committees and clubs which are there in NMIMS, and if you are planning to join any one of these, then it will be a good idea to read about it and then speak about it. Because a lot of times people are asked as to what contribution are you going to offer to NMIMS. It's not, because it's a two-way process, right? They are selecting you for the institute, and you are also going to spend your time there. So they want you to succeed, they want you to do well, but they also want you to do something more for the institute. So the committee and club will play a huge role in structuring your answers as to why NMIMS. Yesterday I had given an entire slide on why IFT. Unfortunately, I haven't mentioned the same thing for NMIMS. But based on my experience, see, NMIMS, the only disadvantage probably that NMIMS has is the huge batch size which is there. And if you ignore that part, NMIMS has a fantastic location. NMIMS also, because they have so many people, the alumni network is very strong. So your placement generally is not really a problem. There are a lot of committees and clubs, as I said. And the infrastructure is simply brilliant. So if you go to the institute, you will realize it looks like one of the best B schools that are there in the country. So I think these are some of the feel-good factors that are there. And in addition to that, of course, you can talk about the work that alumni are doing in the industry. And as I mentioned in my previous webinars as well, always a good idea to know at least 4 to 5 names of alumni, and at least say 4 to 5 faculty members, and just check on the website how they look. Okay. If you are interested in a particular subject, then again make sure that you are well prepared, because then you can see that I'm very focused, or I want to specialize in this particular subject. Would you like to ask me questions related to that? Especially when they ask you questions that you can't answer, because it may happen that they ask you a lot of things, but then you're not able to answer anything. And if something like this happens, then you can always say that it appears that I am not able to answer these questions, but then I have studied XYZ other things. Would you like to ask me questions from that? And that should take care of it. So in a lot of interviews, even at NMIMS, people who thought that they didn't do well in the interview have actually converted the interview. And because it's a subjective assessment which is open to all sorts of bias and errors, you can't really say that based on an interview and your personal assessment that I'll make it or I'll not make it. But typically people have positive feedback about the interview that happens at NMIMS. And speaking about my personal interview, so when I had appeared long time back, my written score was very high, so as I said. And because NMIMS had 70%, almost 70 to 75% weight for the written score, people with good written score have a fantastic chance of making it, the way it happened in my case. And that time the process used to be a little different. So you have the paper used to be of 150 marks converted to 120, and then you have 10 GD, 10 PI, and 10 work experience flat. So again, huge weightage for written score. So even if you, let's say, don't do that well in any of the remaining processes, for example, let's say you don't do well in the case discussion, you still have your academics, your work experience, and your interview to make up for it. So don't worry if you think that you haven't done well. You might still end up converting either the core or the HR or the NMIMS Bangalore if that is one of the preferences that you have put. And my interview was, again, didn't last for more than 10 minutes. One of the panel members started asking me questions about why I wanted to do MBA. And my answer, of course, was because I wanted to start something in the domain of education field over a period of time. And I wanted MBA, and because I wanted to learn how to, the business aspects and so on. So one of the panel members, for some reason, lost the interest in the discussion, in the interview that was going on. So he didn't ask me any questions after the first 2-3 minutes. And this has happened for a lot of people. So we have collated a list of all the interview experiences, and you can download it from our website, which we have put it for free. In that also, we have listed down some of the NMIMS experiences, where out of 3 panel members, one panel member sort of lost the interest in the interview and those kind of things. And this will happen. So if it happens, don't get stressed about it. Make sure that you, whatever questions that they're going to throw at you after that particular loss of interest, make sure that you answer those questions well, and I think you will be able to bring your vehicle back on track. So don't worry, don't stress much, but make sure that you're prepared and do well, because they give a lot of calls. So the conversion ratio is a bit of a problem, but the number of seats is huge. So I think if you are in any of the groups, if you are there out of the group of 10 people, if let's say you are in the top 5 or 6 performers, you definitely have a realistic shot at converting an MMS. So that's it from my side. I'll take questions now. So if you have any questions, you can start listing them down in the chat window.
Hi guys, thank you Prasad, that was an amazing presentation as usual. Very, 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 very specific, just like I wanted it. I mean, just like we all wanted it. It was very specific, and I liked how you mentioned about the cultural activities at NMIMS, because I've been told that NMIMS does focus a lot on cultural activities. So knowing this, I mean, if I go for an NMIMS interview and if I say I want to join your college because I also want to do these activities, I think that does bring a lot of value to the answer. So thank you so much, Prasad. I'm pretty sure you've helped a lot of candidates today who really want to get into NMIMS. Okay, so guys, if you have questions, just like Prasad said, please put them down. I'm sorry I never mentioned this in the very beginning. You're supposed to keep putting questions as you go in the chat. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that to you guys. You can, right, so we already have 2 questions. Also, Prasad, if you can just scroll up a little bit, you'll find one question from Suresh. It was Suresh, yeah. He asked something about, how people behave in the GD, not explicitly about, about the content, but about the behavior. So you can just start with that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So to answer Suresh's question, some people tend to speak at high pitch, due to which a lot of people are not able to speak and don't get enough time for a positive impression. What can we do for it? Okay. So if at all the situation becomes a fish market, the panel member will tell you that please stop, and then they will ask you to sort of start the discussion again. Because see, fish market doesn't help anybody, especially panel, if they can't make sense of what is being said and what points people are making, then they will definitely intervene. So in such a case, if that happens, then make sure that you are somebody who grabs that opportunity. So if you're not getting enough time to, or you're not getting an opportunity to speak, wait for something like this to happen. But again, don't wait for a really long time. You need to make an attempt in the group discussion. This is what will happen. So I would suggest, if you have access to some local group where you can participate in GDs, or have friends in your area, and you guys can sit together and practice, I'm suggesting you can go ahead and do that, because that will help you understand dynamics. If you haven't sat in GDs before, just GD for anybody, unless you have a lot of debating or some experience, it becomes very difficult to talk in the first 1 or 2 GDs that you face of your life. So let NMIMS not be that particular GD. So practice GDs at least 4 to 5 before you come for the process. And generally, people who shout a lot and don't give others opportunity are not really looked at in a positive manner. So you have to make sure that others also get opportunity to speak. If you have made 3 or 4 points and have well spaced entries, there should not be any problem you getting through that particular discussion. But then don't make 9 or 10 entries in a 10-minute or a 12-minute GD just for the sake of it. If you're not adding anything but want to make sure that you are heard, doesn't add any value. So if there are people who are speaking at high pitch, you can try and raise your voice a little, but then it should not be equivalent to shouting. So you can try raising your voice. If the person stops, then good. If the person doesn't stop, the panel eventually will intervene. Okay, Nitin's question: what score can be considered good and provide you upper hand? See, though there is very high weightage for written score, last year we have seen cases where people had north of 220 and didn't convert NMIMS core Mumbai program. Okay, so I wouldn't comment on that, because there are always exceptions to the rule, and because of which it's very difficult to generalize. So I can see, I saw a lot of people converting at 213, 214. So if you have anything more than that, then you have a realistic shot, unless you screw up your interview. So I personally think that anything north of 213, 214 can be considered a good score. To answer Ishita's question, how long does the interview last? So interview will typically last for about 10 to 15 minutes, not more than that. And as I said in the beginning, there have been cases where interview was less than 10 minutes, but that doesn't happen with everybody. So you can go on average 10 to 15 minutes of interview. Suresh is asking, can I bully others in GD rooms? Okay, why do you want to do that, first of all? So don't get into this whole bullying and overpowering thing. You have asked another question, which is, can I bully and take a direct fight with the person who is speaking loudly? So you're not there to fight, first of all. You are there because you want to participate in the discussion and eventually make it to NMIMS. So all these personal fights that happen in the interview room or in the discussion room should be there in the discussion room only. And you don't have to take a fight with anybody for that matter. Because see, there will be people who have naturally loud voice, or there are people who speak, but then it appears as if they're shouting at you or they're angry at you. But you can't help it. So you have to, if you actually lower your voice and pace your words, then people listening to you more carefully compared to if you start shouting. Okay, so you can raise your voice a little, grab everybody's attention, and then suddenly reduce your voice so that everybody gets attentive. So this is one of the tactics that people employ, but then you have to practice it offline to sort of run it in the actual discussion. Okay, another question. You were about to share some slides showing profiles which were not that good and still converted. I'm skeptical about my conversion chances. I don't know if I said that way, but then, so not so good profile, as in even if you have, say, a lot of people have that career drop somewhere. So you have good score in 10th, then it suddenly drops, again picks up in the graduation or things like that. Or you have been consistently scoring say in the 60s or
Okay.
so in
Sorry.
such a case, if you
I'm sorry to button here. Suresh, I think he's constantly trying to unmute himself. Uh, can I just have a conversation here? I mean, can I just say something here, Prasad? Could you just wait for 1 minute?
yeah, sure.
Sorry. Suresh, please keep yourself muted. If you want to have a conversation with Prasad, we will give you the chance when everything is done at the end. Okay, he has to address everybody's queries. I understand that you might have something to say to add to what he said about the bullying point, but just wait a little bit. We will get to the end, and then maybe you can unmute yourself and have a conversation with Prasad if you want to. But as of now, let him just answer everybody else's queries, and we'll move on. Right? Cool. I'm just because I've muted you twice now, so please don't keep unmuting yourself because there's a lot of sound in your background and that's interfering with the. Uh, yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I mean, this is just how it has to be. Right, Prasad. I'm really, really sorry to interfere you. Interrupt you. Sorry. Please.
So, see, in such a case, I mean, don't worry about your conversion chances with a score of 210, right? See, you'll have to do well in interview because I'm not saying that your chance is difficult because a lot of people have converted in the past at that score. So if you can make it up for whatever score that you have got in if you have say work experience where you get few points, even case discussion and personal interview both give you an opportunity to do better and then go ahead in terms of your final rank. So I don't think you need to worry a lot, but then your preparation has to be in place. Your academic preparation, work experience, why MBA, why NMIMS, all these answers, your current affairs awareness, subject matter expertise, everything has to be there, and even your hobbies and interests for that matter, which should make for an interesting discussion in the actual interview. So I would suggest that you prepare really well and give your best. I have seen people converting at 210, 12. So I don't think it's difficult, but then these people have put in a lot of efforts to get through. Having said that, I have seen people at 226 not making it. So it doesn't really guarantee because after all, if they use the percentile to convert, then it doesn't make a lot of difference. So a 19 percentile and a 98 percentile doesn't make a lot of difference. So your score is not something that will definitely decide the outcome of the final selection. Okay, another question. Good answers for why MBA after engineering and why MBA as a fresher. Okay, so for a lot of people, especially if they've changed streams, for example, let's say somebody did mechanical engineering, worked in IT, and then say decided to do MBA. If that is the case, then you have to sort of say that you at any point of time in your career, you have always looked at the next 2 to 3 years and then decided what you wanted to pursue. So when you were in 12th standard, it was the right thing to do to take up, let's say, mechanical engineering. But you did mechanical engineering and then you reevaluated your career goals and realized that a work experience in IT is probably the most important thing to do. And after that, after getting that work experience, you have realized that to succeed or to achieve your long-term goals, you need MBA. And that's why you want to do MBA. Why MBA after engineering? Now, see, of course, your 80% of the people in the institute are going to be engineers. So for everybody, the answer is going to be largely same, unless you have some other story that is interesting. So if you have stories, then good. That okay, this is what happened. I had my uncle who is a say CEO of XYZ company, and then I have always looked up to him and saw him through his struggles and how MBA helped him, and that is what has shaped my career as well. So why MBA answer can be not only specific to engineering or a particular stream. It can be personal as well. So if you have a sibling who studied at say a good B school and because of which the entire career trajectory of that person changed, you can always say that you have seen the personal growth in thought process as well as the professional expertise of this person, and you want to see something similar happen to you as well, and that is why you want to do MBA. So why MBA as a fresher? See, fresher also bring in a lot of perspective that people with work experience may not bring, and especially people who have, let's say, studied management at undergraduate level, then it becomes a logical extension of what you have studied. So that is one where you can say that since I did this, then I want to learn more, and hence I want to get into this. About MBA as a fresher, if you are entering from any other stream, you can always say that you started understanding or following management pretty early in your 3 years or 4 years of course. So somewhere in second year, you sort of thinking as to what you want to do eventually, and you realize that MBA is one of the options which will give you an opportunity to do a lot of things and be in a generalist role compared to a specialist role, and which is what you wanted. And because of that, you started thinking of MBA as a career. So the answer can be very different for every individual. So I would suggest you write it down, show it to a few people, and then get their feedback as to whether it sounds realistic and it doesn't completely appear as if you are making it up. So yeah. How can I make my profile strong? Being average in academics and 1 year work experience. Okay, so Piyush, you can't do much in the time frame that you have. So you can't change suddenly or add a lot of things to your CV right away. Now, what you can differentiate on is your work experience and some of the achievements that you have in extracurricular activities or co-curricular activities. So if you have that, then you can talk about those things. Now, even in work experience, a lot of people, so a lot of us sort of undermine the achievement that we have. We think that it is not significant. And that is why even while making CVs, we are very critical of ourselves and will not put this point and will put that point instead. So what you can do is you can write down everything that comes to your mind on a piece of paper that you have done this, even in your academics, co-curricular, extracurricular, projects, internships, work experience, social activities, whatever it is. Write down everything that comes to your mind, wherever you have proof, don't have proof. Ask your friends, family members if they remember something, and frame your answers accordingly. So let's say you have 1 year of work experience and you don't think it is significant, but let's say there was a situation where you mentored some 5 people, 5 new joinees in your organization, or you trained them, or you decided to make some innovative training program for them, or you helped somebody in some situation because of which you got appreciation, you got thank you notes, or you got recommendation letter from somebody. So all these small things can also be added, and you can make your overall profile strong that way if you want to talk about it. But otherwise, in the given time, there is hardly anything additional that you can do. Anjali is asking, I'm a fresher, will this affect my conversion? Not at all. I have seen a lot of people converting who are freshers, so don't worry about being a fresher. Have clarity on why you want to do MBA at this point of time, and build on your academic knowledge and all the extracurricular activities that you have, and that should help you. Suresh is asking, can I get a chance to play music? I think that the question is not really related to NMIMS.
I don't know. Sorry, I had to. This is funny to
If
me.
anybody wants to play music, then the person is free to do that, but not now.
Not while. No, because now I'm starting to feel maybe Suresh was trying to unmute himself to play music. Maybe I need to have a chat with him one to one. What is happening? Anyway, please move on. Sorry. Yeah.
Given that I have an 1 year gap, so next question is, given that I have 1 year gap after 12, how do I justify it? So I am assuming this gap is because you wanted to prepare for either the IIT or wanted a better engineering college. In which case you can always say that you took a gap because of that reason. There is absolutely no problem in stating that. 12th is a really long time back. Assuming, let's say, you are graduate with 0 to 2 years of experience, 12th was long time back. So you can always say that at that point of time, taking a gap was the logical thing to do because you wanted to improve your prospects. And you can always justify by saying that you improved your prospects. So if you were getting some 50th ranked institute in the country for engineering, you waited for another year and got, let's say, even the 25th ranked institute in the country, it's still fine probably. As per your frame of reference, it was the right thing to do. So you can say that I wanted to study and improve my prospects and that's why I did it. It will not be looked at in a negative manner. Because I've seen people who had that gap that you're talking about after 12 and who converted. So it doesn't really impact in a negative manner. Shad is asking, is it recommended to mention specialization in MBA, example finance, if you have some IT job experience on finance side? Okay, so you're saying basically you worked in IT, but then your client was either from financial domain or you did some technical work on a finance project. Okay. Yeah, you can definitely mention that. That was probably the reason why you decided to go for MBA because, or finance MBA for that matter. So if you don't have the technical, the background, let's say you don't have specialization in finance in your undergraduation degree, but you got an opportunity to work with a client in the finance domain. Uh, you can say that basis on the interaction that you had with your client and the different things that you worked upon, you got an understanding of how that particular domain of finance works, and that sparked an interest in the finance, the overall finance, and because of which you want to do MBA. How to answer question if they ask what if you don't get finance during MBA course? I don't think it works that way because I'm not too sure how specializations are offered at NMIMS, but in most of the institutes, that is not really a problem. That if you want to do finance, you will get to do finance, unless they have a specific cap on number of students in each of the specializations. So I don't think this question will come. In case it comes, you can you need to back it up with that you want finance and that is what you want. If you don't want to do marketing, so you can say that I want to do finance and I'll definitely try and get finance only because otherwise it doesn't make sense for you. About MBA pharmaceutical management, I am not very sure, so I don't want to comment on it. I suggest you go through the website and maybe on some of the discussion forums you can check or even go to LinkedIn and see what people who studied at the MBA pharmaceutical management, the course, check with them on LinkedIn that how their experience was. At what score it is safe to convert? Can't really say. As I mentioned in the previous question as well, you can't really say that a score is safe to convert. People even with 220 don't make it. People with 210 make it. So it all depends on what you do in the remaining part of the process. Okay, another question. Somebody's planning. Okay, so the person who asked on the profile strong question is talking about 1 year frame. Okay, so there are a lot of certifications that you can do. First of all, so you make a CV and then see where you're lacking. Okay, for example, let's say you don't have anything in the on the social responsibility side. Okay, if you don't have that, then it will be a good idea to say get some volunteering experience with any NGO. But again, don't spend a lot of time doing these things. If you don't have, if you want to specialize in finance, but you don't have anything related to finance, maybe you can do a few certifications. Even say think of your CFA if you have time for it, and do CFA level 1 in this year and then try next year because that will add a lot of value and even give you a reason as to why you want to do MBA in finance, let's say. If you want to do marketing, you can pick up a job which is related to sales and marketing, do some courses or certifications in marketing. So there is no limit to what you can do, but it will completely depend on how your CV is at this point of time, and then you can sort of work accordingly. Suresh, please don't spam. I mean, it's not a good practice. Divya, if you can remove Suresh from the group, if that is possible.
Sure. What's happening? Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think Suresh has some music lyrics and
Okay. Right. I mean,
disturbing.
we do have some. Okay. So I wanted to. I also wanted.
Yeah, thank you. Suresh, let's get back to the discussion.
Sorry, I'm so sorry about this. This happens once in a while. Even some time back, I think somebody joined who was behaving a little inappropriately. So, guys, when this happens, please feel free to please feel free to sort of revolt and don't get upset about it, because we are here to sort of regulate that. Also, when you guys are putting in queries to Prasad, please put it into the the main chat so everyone can see it, because I think Prasad, you've received a few queries which I didn't see, so I was a little confused as to what you're talking about. Because then what happens is we're trying to ensure that every question that is coming up is sort of benefits everybody else, so that so when you say when you talk about a question, if you don't know the context of that question, we are a little, I mean, people might be a little clueless. So yeah, if you guys could just please put it into the main chat. Yeah, sorry about it. I don't know what happened with Suresh. Right, please go ahead.
So, in 1 year you can do a lot with respect to your overall file development and CV improvement, but it is very specific to your interest. So, see, typically Coursera or MOOCs don't really count in India, at least as of now. I mean, doing those courses don't add a lot of value. You can always say that you did a few, but not really something that will add a lot of value. But if you want, you ping me later. I can help you with some of the certifications that are there basis your profile. Okay. So Shaz is asking if we have experience working in NGO, then do they ask for certificates? So by working in NGO, are you saying that you're talking about, say, the volunteering experience or full-time experience? If you have full-time experience, you will of course need a certificate. If you're talking about volunteering experience, even if you don't have a certificate or proof, it is still fine. It will be under other information on your CV, for which it is not mandatory to have a proof, written proof. So that is okay. But if somebody is asking whether NGO experience counts, it counts only if it is full-time. And work experience is, let's say volunteering experience is more from one-off activities or something that you take on a once in 2 months or once a month basis. Ishita is asking, do we need to carry a resume? Yes. So it may not be mentioned specifically by NMIMS or by any other institute, but it is always a good practice to carry your resume as well as a file of your certificates. So whatever is relevant, whatever is something that you have mentioned. For example, if you have mentioned that you are a certified dancer in a particular style, you may want to carry that certificate just to be safe. So carry your CV, a good CV that you have prepared, and any of the certificates that you have. So though they have your SOP and they will not ask you for your CV, carry your resume. Nitin is asking, should we try answering questions we don't have any clue about? You can, provided it's you are on the right track at least. So if you don't know anything, then probably not a good idea to get into that. So in that case, you can say that I don't have any idea about it, and I'm sorry, I don't know, but I'll try and figure it out at a later point of time. But even if you have slight idea, it's good to talk about. It's good to say that I don't know the entire thing, but I know that okay, these are the aspects of it. So that way you can definitely say something. I mean, it's always good to do that. Ramesh is asking, does certification from Google or Salesforce count? Yes, it counts, but then it's more of a line on your CV. unless it's something that you will be using during your MBA or post MBA, it's just a line on your CV. And if you can talk about the utility of it, for example, there are people in analytics who do, let's say, some SPSS or Excel training, which is what they would, which is what they will be using in their day-to-day life, and they need that certification. So that way it makes sense to do. But if you have no background whatsoever and then you're just doing it randomly for a line on CV, it doesn't make sense. So it needs to fit in somewhere. Whether it should serve a purpose, a current purpose that you need it for your job immediately, or you need it for your job in future. So you're adding that, okay, I have analytics certification from Google, good thing. So yeah, definitely a good point to mention and talk about in the interview. Do we need to carry original certificates? Uh, Not for everything, because they will specify that whether they want to do the document verification and so on. So if that is the case, then yes, you will have to. But some of the extracurricular certificates, it's up to you. If you want to carry, you can. If you don't carry, I think it's still okay. Because academics has, I think, definite weightage in the selection process. So they may want to check that, but just cross-check it once with the institute whether they want you to carry your original mark sheets and certificates. Okay, I think we're done with questions. Are there any more questions? Because we're also towards the end of the session now.
Yeah, we are running out of on time a little bit because it's 12:08. But we did start at 11:07, so I think that's okay. Right.
Yeah, Ramesh has a question.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, SK, I think I mentioned that because I'm not too sure of the MBA Pharma specifics. So I suggest you go through the website and check on LinkedIn what the alumni are doing at this point of time. Ramesh is asking, can I boast a bit in interviews? Okay, what do you want to boast about? So, see, if it is something that you are proud of, it's always a good idea to be humble about it, because people who generally do well are not very proud of. I mean, they may be proud of what they have done, but then when they are conversing, they will not appear as if they are proud of it. So you have to be very casual about whatever you have done. Casual by, yeah, by casual.
Please continue.
Okay.
I've dismissed it. That's okay.
By casual, I mean, you have to be very straight about it that, okay, this is what happened at this. I mean, even if you finished, say, first in the state in something, yeah, you finished first in the state. So you don't have to boast about it. Happened, it happened. So that's what I think. And there is a thin line between being somebody who is successful and being somebody who is arrogant. So you don't want to cross that thin line, especially in the interviews. So don't get into boasting is what I feel. But if you have achievements, yes, highlight your achievements. Piyush, you can ping me later if you want. So I'm there on the platform, or you can ping me on Facebook, and I'll get back with your queries.
Right. Shaumik. Okay, so Shaumik Ganguly, I mentioned this to you before also. Shaumik Ganguly is the product and evangelist. I'm Divya. It's me here. But yeah, you can thank Shaumik Ganguly because he started this whole QS Sleep movement anyway. So, okay guys, sorry, today's session got a little weird at places. I'm very, very sorry about that. Prasad, thank you so much for sticking around nevertheless. You've been very patient, you've been very calm throughout the whole process. Hats off to you for that. And guys, just like Prasad said, he is present on QS Sleep. So QS Sleep is I mean, I'm assuming most of you have come, I mean, are already registered on QS Sleep, but in case you don't know how it works, everybody has a profile on QS Sleep, and there are some there's some experts who have an upgraded profile, so you can message them. Can't message everyone else, but you can message the experts. So Prasad is one of our experts, so you can message him and you can ask him queries directly on QS Sleep. It's like, it's a platform. It's an online platform, so you can message each other and you can talk to each other there. And as part of that, I am the community manager for the platform, so I organize events like these wherein we can have more personalized interactions and more specific interactions, and that was the purpose of today's webinar. Um, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Prasad. Thank you very much for your presentation today. All
Thanks again, everybody.
it,
So,
yeah, it was good to see that everything worked out ultimately with the internet. So we're glad with that happened. For the next time, we're also going to have another session after this. Nitin, you're welcome, and thank you for calling it a wonderful session, considering some things went wrong here and there. But yeah, we're going to have more sessions like this. Where the upcoming sessions are going to be about TAPME and MICA. I still haven't put a date for it because Prasad is extremely busy in this coming week, and he's become more busy now because you can understand everybody is asking him questions, and he has his own organization to run as well. So he has been busy. So we're gonna do a session soon, 2 sessions actually, TAPME and MICA, very soon. But I will be sending out the email regarding the dates for that. So I think that's all for today. That's all for now. Guys, anything else you want to say? Prasad, anything else you want to say? Please go ahead and say it. It's fine.
no, not really. I mean, just everybody who is present, make sure that you prepare and do well in the next stage. That's it. So all the best, guys.
Yeah, all the best from my side as well. And yeah, good luck. Have a nice time. In your interviews, don't get into any fights. Don't get into any. I think the people who ask those questions. So I kind of have the feeling that Ramesh and Suresh were the same people from the 5-star ad. Is it? But yeah, I think there are that. So I think I just wanted to sort of touch up on what was introduced in along those lines. In a group discussion, nobody cares about how loud your voice is. Nobody cares about your fighting abilities. People are there. People are trying to assess your personality and your leadership abilities and how well you can sort of guide a discussion. So if you're not discussing, you might as well just leave. And that's exactly what happened today also. We had 2 people who were probably the same person, who were not discussing per se, they were just doing random stuff, so we dismissed them. That's exactly how it works in the GT as well. So yeah, just wanted to leave that with you guys. I hope you had a good session. Thank you so much, Prasad, one more time. I will now take your leave. Right? Thank you so much, guys. Bye. See you.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye.